We will call our meeting to order tonight. Roll call, please, Amy.
Ettinger?
Say here.
Here.
Guggen?
Here.
Miller?
Here.
McEvers?
I'm here.
Evans?
Here.
English?
Here. A little slow tonight. We will rise for the invocation for Pastor Paul Vanoy.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Lord, we are so thankful to be here tonight, halfway through the year, and again celebrating our independence yesterday. A great time in Coeur d'Alene, a great celebration, and Lord, having heard of no incident, Lord, we just give you thanks for the peace, the joy that we've enjoyed in this community and continue to enjoy. We ask now for your blessing upon our council members and every person here, upon our mayor, as they make decisions and listen. Lord, we also ask that we all listen to you and that we make good judgment based on the things that you place in our hearts. Thank you, Lord, for your word for this time. Thank you for these that serve our community. We give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't believe we have any amendments to the agenda tonight, so,
Mr. Mayor, I was asked to pull the item
oh, we do have.
I, which is the approval of an installation of a fenced-off leashed dog park at Fippany Park. I will make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Motion and a second to pull that item off of the agenda. Dan?
Well, I would just, I can understand that maybe it would be good to have more time, but I guess I'm very reluctant. Once you've had a public meeting advertised out there, I've gotten input on it, and I don't know, if there are people here tonight that may have come specifically for that. It sounds like there is that I guess I have a concern at the last minute of pulling something that's been advertised, so.
We certainly want to take their public comment. I don't think we're in a position right now that we want to move this forward, but I would encourage those people that are here tonight, so you don't have a wasted trip, to come in and give public comment on that.
Okay.
So I would encourage that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, I don't know if we vote first or have, but I'd like to invite our Parks Director up to explain some of the reasons why the item is being pulled.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So the reason we pulled it, we felt that enough folks didn't hear about it. We heard about it after the fact, like you did, Councilman English. So we'd like to pull back a little bit and be able to get more people to hear about it. We started hearing concerns that they didn't get the flyers. We put out about 50 or 60 flyers around the neighborhood, but some of those folks that I believe should have received a flyer didn't receive a flyer. So I don't know if it was a windy day or something that they disappeared, but they didn't get an opportunity to come to the commission meeting. I was surprised that we only had about 3 or so folks that showed up, and then we had 2 that had phoned us, and we read their statement into the record against the dog park. But we didn't have as many people as I really thought we should have in mass, like I was expecting 20 or some odd people, and it didn't show up. So this is the reason we'd like to pull it and have an opportunity to address it later.
And so what's the timeline for doing that?
Oh, probably it'll be near the end of the summer.
Okay, so before
And the
fall.
money's in place. It was from Ace Walden, so it's not going to go anywhere. But I think it's just a good thing to do so that we have all those folks really have the chance to have their voice be heard. And some of those folks are here tonight, so it's a good opportunity here for them to voice that as well.
Bill, a question. The money left by Ace Walden, is that specifically for Fippany?
That's
Park?
correct, Mayor.
Okay.
Yep. And so there's been some discussion with me and another gentleman whose name escapes me at the moment, but he has asked about a splash pad. Splash pads in themselves are rather expensive, but I have an idea that we can do something like that there with like we have this mister by the basketball court. Something, an apparatus that isn't as expensive, that kids could get a little wet and have some fun in, and they've got some pretty colorful colors that would work well, but be a third the cost of a regular splash pad like we have here at McEwen.
Okay, so there's some other alternatives?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
Any other questions for Bill?
thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the item? All those in favor of pulling that item off, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. We will move on to a presentation, and we have a special presentation tonight. We have World War II local history, and Mr. Jim Shepard is going to come up and give a presentation. It's my understanding.
Thank you. Welcome to downtown, Jim.
Well, it sure is good to be here. I am a native. In fact, I'm one step over that. I'm an East Ender. So I'm getting a little older, and so I look at a lot of different things that I used to look at another way. And one of them is the television. I now watch a station 206, and you got to be fast to punch 206 in the television set. But anyway, there's a guy, Oliver North, and I met him once at the National Convention of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And he has this war stories, and he talks about whatever happened in whatever war, and he talks about it, and when he gets all through, he says, you know, that's a story that should be told. And that's what I'm doing here tonight. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Don't get scared. It's not that going to take that long. But there's a whole lot of stuff that goes together. And it tells about Coeur d'Alene. And it tells about the history of Coeur d'Alene and what Coeur d'Alene has done. Just one moment. I tried to get down here on the 20th of February, 2 or 3 years. The 20th of February, 1945, was a very important time for a lot of reasons. That was the day that they put up the flag on Iwo Jima. Now, you wouldn't think that that would tie into Coeur d'Alene very much, because none of those guys were from Coeur d'Alene. But that night in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, there was an anniversary dinner set for post 889. And one of the guys from Fort Sherman that was in the Spanish-American War on the riverboats in the Philippine Islands was at that meeting. And he was on a riverboat, and all of a sudden he got sunk by rifle fire. So he got in the water and he swam over to the edge of the river, and he looked back, and there was his ship, or his boat was sinking. And on the back of it was the flag flying. He didn't think that was a very good idea. So he swam back, took the flag off, folded it up, put it under his blouse, and brought it back to Coeur d'Alene. And then in 1945, he presented it to the Post. And when I was quartermaster in 93, that would be almost 100 years after this all happened, somebody broke that frame, and they took everything out of the frame, and they found the whole story. The other part of that story is that on this flag are 13 stars. Normally we think of 13 stars in a circle. But this wasn't in a circle, this was on the field. And so that means it was a flag from John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones fought in 1812. So what that was doing on a boat in the Philippine Islands in '89, I have no idea. But we did all the research we could, and after we broke that up, then we found out about it. And the next day, in Iwo Jima, well, let me go back just a little bit. Bill Brainerd was killed on Iwo Jima, and I played football with him in high school. And his mother wanted him to be buried in Coeur d'Alene. So he is buried in Coeur d'Alene, and I checked his gravestone a while back, and he was killed on March the 16th. Now, not February the 20th, but March the 16th. And they quit fighting at that day. That was the last day of Iwo Jima. So all the guys that were in their foxholes, they got out, and they got a new pair of socks and a new set of underwear. And then they started eating lunch together in this big tent. And several days later, they were eating lunch. And this fellow was just one of the guys from the 4th Marine Corps. And he was sitting in there. I was not in the Marine Corps. I heard about those foxholes when I used to get a haircut, and I was going to have 2 sheets on me when I went to bed. So anyway, where were we? The guys were standing around, and this fellow stood up and he said, I got something important I want to tell you guys. He said, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Is there anybody here from Brooklyn? And nobody raised their hand. There wasn't anybody there from Brooklyn. He said, that's what I want to talk to you about. We have 2 million people in Brooklyn, and I'm the only one here. I want to tell you, there's a table over there in the corner that's got 10 guys from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He said, I never heard of Idaho until I got here. And that's kind of the way it was. But we were pretty proud of the guys that were in Iwo and all the rest of the places. And one day when I was working for the Department of Employment, I had a lunch hour, and we were right behind Montgomery Wards. They moved from downtown out to Appleway. And so at lunchtime, I'd go out and kind of do some shopping or look around. And all of a sudden, this lady came up to me, and she said, Jimmy, I've been trying to talk to you for a long time, and you don't seem to know me. And I said, gosh, it isn't because I don't want to. It's just I don't recognize you at all. And she says, I'm Florence. And I said, Florence Healy? And she said, yes. Now, Florence Healy lived 2 houses down from the 12th Day Inn. I mean, everybody knows where that is. And I said, Florence, I could never forget you. You and I went to the kiddies parade one time, and I pulled you in my little red wagon, and you had your bird. And it was a wonderful time that we had, and we'd had an awful lot of time. And she said, I want to tell you something. I married a guy from Spokane. He was in the Marine Corps, and he was with all those guys you knew in Coeur d'Alene. They're on Iwo. He said, they were always talking about you. One time and another, they had some story that they talked, how they do that. I have no idea what they told him. But a little later on, the kid from Spokane also shared a tent with Sammy Webb. Sammy Webb was the first guy I saw that wasn't a relative. So we'd known him that long, and we went to school with him, and I knew his mother and father, and he was just a great guy all the way around. And so when Sam's funeral came up, he and I, the fellow from Spokane, we sat together, and we talked about Sam and remembering him and everything. And it was a wonderful time. I mean, considering it was a funeral. But that really isn't the end of the story. One day, a few months ago, I was putting a flower out on my wife's grave. Now, my wife wasn't born in the East End. She was a Fort Gone girl. Her dad was on city council. He was also the manager of a baseball team, and her brother was the pitcher. And we have pictures of her sitting in the grandstand that the guys that write the history of Coeur d'Alene say was built in 1947. And we have proof that when she was like 10 years old, because the building was built in about 1915, and it was rebuilt and made larger in 1947. Anyway, when I was up there, I started to look around, and there was a grave. Sam's mother was buried about 4.5 feet from Jan. And his father was right next to him. And I went over to take a look at the grave, and I found out that Sam's ashes were buried in his mother's grave. And I thought, that's pretty good. But I'm not ready right now, but sometime I'm going to be next to Jan. There's going to be 4 guys from East Coeur d'Alene and 1 girl from the Fort Grounds. So I thought I'd come around. This is a story I think should be told. So I came down here to tell you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim, very much.
Bless his heart.
I wish all presentations were that good. Amy, you had something to add before we started the consent calendar?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I would like to recuse myself from approval of the consent calendar, or voting on the consent calendar, due to, under Resolution 16-034, item C, excuse me. My son is Maxwell Evans, and he is starting the Cycle Cab Coeur d'Alene pedicab business in town.
Okay, great. Does someone have a motion to approve the consent
I'd like
calendar?
to move to approve the consent calendar, which includes a whole bunch of stuff, Resolution 16034.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
English,
Yes?
Ettinger,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes?
McEvers,
Yes.
Guggen.
Yep.
Okay, motion carried. Now we'll have the time for public comment, so if there are the folks that came here that'd like to share some information on the item that we pulled off, the dog park, this would be time to do that, as well as if there's any other public comment, we would welcome that as well. So anyone that would like to come up for public comment, come on up.
Mayor and Council, thanks very much for your time tonight. We appreciate the opportunity to come forward. My name is Warren Merritt. I'm the chair of the Post Falls Food Bank, and with me tonight is Leslie Orth, and she's our executive director. And we wanted to take just a couple minutes tonight and recognize the work of some good staff here at the City of Coeur d'Alene, and tonight it's about Jim Hammond. And he doesn't know we were coming here tonight, so that's why we wanted to surprise him. But Jim has been an active member with the Post Falls Food Bank for a number of years, and certainly in the last couple of years as one of our board of directors. He is a quiet leader on the board. He's been done some really good work for us, and so tonight we have a little plaque for him, if he'd come up here for just a second. Because we didn't think we could get into one of our meetings, so we thought we'd come down here in front of all of his peers. And it says the following: Distinguished Board Member presented to Jim Hammond for outstanding service and dedication to the Post Falls Food Bank 2016. And Jim has been, again, active on our board. We're certainly going to miss his leadership, and we thank him for the last couple of years of service with us. So congratulations. Yeah, I just looked right. Very good. Okay. Good, I'm glad we did. Okay.
Good job,
Thanks
Jim.
very much.
You bet.
Thanks, Chief.
Anyone else can come on up?
Hello, my name is Gary True, and I am a business property owner and a resident Midtown. Back in '08, they redid the streets, sidewalks. And, sure. And at that time, the business owners paid for some enhancements that we're paying for in a 10-year LID, which I have a bill for here. But I've been addressing this issue for 8 years, that the red in the concrete failed within the first few months. Over the past few years, I've come in and talked to city engineers, city planners, talked to the city attorney, saying they were working on a resolution. I came back in to talk to a city engineer just a week or so ago, and they have no resolution. I've got pictures of the failure, and I've been paying on this for 8 years, and I still don't have what I'm paying on. And I'm wondering when and what is going to be done to rectify this.
When was the last time that you came in to talk with someone? Was it?
Last week, I believe it was Dennis.
Okay, all right.
You know, and then also, you know, like street light fixtures have been, you know, occasionally they're hit by a car or whatever, damaged. And they'll be stepped out for up to a year. I went in and talked to city attorney finally, and she said, well, we have to go after the responsible party, then we fix them. I don't know about the city's insurance, but when I have a loss, that is fixed, and then we go after the responsible party. Why it should take that long, maybe you guys can tell me.
Is there an item that's not fixed now?
No, they're fixed now, but they've taken up to a year. You know, and also we've just had a tree taken out on the 800 block, and I'm wondering how long that's going to take to get replaced.
Okay.
But my main concern, again, is the resolution of something I've been paying on for 8 years, that after 8 years and still coming in and talking, nothing has been done. And I don't want to pay my LID anymore until this is corrected. You know, 8 years is plenty of time to come up with a resolution and, you know, have this rectified.
Okay, we will address that. I'm familiar with what you're talking about.
What was the address again?
It's in the, well,
After 8 years, I'm kind of tired of talk. I want to see something done.
well, this is the first that I've heard that it's an ongoing situation, so maybe if you would leave your contact information with Jim Hammond, is that we'll do more than talk, I guarantee that.
Because I've been talking to others, you know, like I said, engineering and planning and street department for years.
Can you tell me what address area this is again?
It's the focus block, it's the 800 block across from Capone's.
Yeah, north of
It's where my properties
Midtown.
are and stuff. And
Right.
yeah, it's just, we paid an additional $500,000 above and beyond the $3.5 million that were spent on that area to redo the streets for those enhancements, and, you know, we still don't have what we paid for.
Okay. We will get some action on that. We'll quit talking and we'll get to work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe we could use some urban renewal money to, oh, that's right.
Hello, my name is Amber, and I am here about the dog park wanting to go in at Fippany. I go there a lot, and I think that from what I observed, every square inch of that park is fully used, and
Personally, I have a community of yoga and potlucks, and I have seen a church that goes there pretty frequently. And it's really like our solace in the city. And I'm thinking, and we're like, when there are well-behaved dogs that are off leashes, nobody has a problem. I think that there is a way better use for that space, and that even now it's already being used very well.
I have a question
And
for
there's we spend 4 days a week there, from Wednesday to Sunday, doing community yoga and managing a potluck. And during that time, the parking is almost completely used. So I don't think that an addition of a dog park would be helpful, because I think it'd just start filling up the surrounding streets with, more parking. Because there's about 30 spots available. And our classes usually go up to like 10 people. That's in addition to the other people who are there with their children using the facilities, and then the dog owners who are there using that nice open grass. That pretty much is, limiting it by just parking space. I think that alone shouldn't be drawing more people to it, because every day, like I said, we see it very well utilized, almost to its capacity. So I don't think that a dog park would help.
Dan, you had a question?
Yes, sir, what's your name?
My name is Leo.
Leo, okay. So Leo and Amber, you heard their Parks Director talk about Epiphany today, and he also mentioned something about a splash pad. Do you have any ideas about a splash pad coming in there? Just thoughts?
The reason that we like Epiphany and that other people go to that park is because it's serenity. It's not a noisy park. It's not crazy. There's not a lot of things going on. It's just open and peaceful. That's its draw and its attraction, and the other parks don't really have that. Any other park.
You don't have to worry about your child disappearing around every corner. You can actually relax a little bit as they play.
Yeah, it's fully open, so you can see the whole span of it and everything like that. There's nothing to distract your view, which makes it great for the dog owners and for the people who take their children there to play, because it's actually a very relaxed, open setting. So having that, it's kind of nice. And like I said, the peace of the park is its real allure. That's what draws everyone that goes to it there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dustin Barch, and I'm also here tonight to speak about the proposed dog park at Epiphany Park. Mr. Widmer and Mr. Edinger and Mr. Eastwood, I've had a chance to speak to on the phone, but I wanted to voice my concern to the other members of council. As these people just stated, the beauty of that park is the openness and the way it's used by the people in the neighborhood. Putting a chain link fence up would just totally ruin the use and just the beauty of the park. If there are people that feel there's a need for a dog park, there's one a half-mile away right here at McEwen. You literally walk directly down 7th Street. You'll walk right into it. A mile away at Cherry Hill, another dog park. As to the parking that was brought up, there's 9 off-street parking spaces there at that park. When you make it a dog park, all of a sudden it becomes a destination park for everybody to drive their cars and their dogs to. Just not a good fit for the neighborhood. Really would be ashamed to see it happen. This weekend I kind of took note of everything that was happening in the park there, and people playing t-ball, throwing frisbees, footballs. And as Mr. Shepherd shared, when I look at that park, I see the history of Coeur d'Alene. It originally was the site of the original Coeur d'Alene High School, then the junior high. It's named after the superintendent. It'd be a shame to ruin it with a chain link fence and a dog park.
Thank you.
Well, Dustin, I'm going to ask you one more question. I asked of Amber and Leo, what do you think about the splash pad idea?
Well, again, I think there's a splash pad, there's a water park nearby. At that point, it becomes a destination park again, and there's only 9 off-street parking spaces there. My concern there is then we start the discussion, are we going to take the basketball courts out, and is that going to be parking? If there's funds available, things that need to be done at the park, repair the sidewalk that's a safety hazard that surrounds the park. maybe replace the 5 trees that were lost in the windstorm last November. A permanent bathroom facility, I think, really would need to be put in before anything can be discussed there. And then if there's funds available, I'd like to see the park preserved going forward. I don't see why we need to spend all the money now to down the road look at what are we going to do, how are we going to replace the playground equipment that, that will eventually need to be addressed. So preserve the park and leave it the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Georgette Burbank, and I'm a homeowner. I live about a block from the park, and I want to express my opposition, total agreement with the 3 previous speakers. My grandsons play basketball there. I look out my living room window, and I can see them. The park really is too small, in my opinion, to make part of it a dog park. And I don't want to listen to barking dogs and other things that dogs are doing. Smell, and I mean, you know, who's going to be picking up and taking care of everything there for them? So I just wanted to express that I'm not for the splash pad either, for the same reasons that were expressed. And I want to say I'm a registered voter and a homeowner in that area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Sarah Williams. I was born a half a block from that park, and I have lived in that neighborhood for the past 24 years of my life. I have been in middle school in that park. I've gone through elementary school in that park. And I loved that old wooden thing. I think those splinters really helped grow my own education of what pain and suffering is. But I honestly love that park exactly the way it is. And a dog park of even the size at McEwen, for a 65-pound dog, they just glump, glump, and they're at the end. If you're familiar with a chuck-it, if you've ever played with a chuck-it with a dog, it's over the fence, down the street, and into Tubbs Hill already, and the dog doesn't know what to do. They can't go get it to begin with in order to get the full gait of a run. So I think McEwen Field would not be a good place for a dog park. Well, not McEwen, Fippany. Fippany is it's just too small. And just that particular space that you're talking about to put it is not big enough for a dog to really fully get what they need out of the park. And let alone, you know, the dirt patch and the, you know, the poop particles that get stuck in the dirt and then float around in your sandals while you're walking through it. It's kind of gross. So, as a person who's lived here my whole life, I've never seen a problem in that park as far dog-related at all. I know there's a guy, I currently live across the street from it, and I look out my window and see it every day. I wake up, I look at it, I go home, I look at it, and it's gorgeous, just the way it is. I think I really love about that park is the trees on the plaques. You guys tell what tree is that it, and it's, you know, it's dedicated to a certain person, and that's a really, Leo and Amber mentioned the serenity of the park. It's always been a place that I can go and just relax and sit and watch. It's never been loud and crazy, and I don't think I would want to see it to be loud and crazy.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Sarah Kavanaugh. I live right next to the park. My property line would share the fence that you want to put the dog park on the other side of. And I am in great opposition to having a dog park there. I have a dog who is in my backyard a lot. Sometimes people do take their dogs to that park, and then he spends the entire time barking while the dogs are using the park next to our house. So I have personal reasons. I've lived next to that park for 20 years now, and I have enjoyed the serenity of that park. It's been a great place. My 3 kids have all enjoyed the park the way it is. It has been, we've loved the park the way it is. I would hate to see a dog park go next to my house and share my fence line with my backyard.
My name is Eric Fromm, and Sarah's my girlfriend. Am a little concerned about a dog park going in next to her property, what a dog park might do for her property value. Because when you put in a dog park, then oftentimes you need to put in extra lighting, extra signage. It's already a pretty small park. Like folks in the audience have said, there's not much in the way of parking, and all these issues seem to compound, and to take a nice little out of the way community park and turn it into a destination type situation, I think would be counterproductive, and definitely counterproductive for the people who live around the park. The gentleman, I forget his name, Epiphany Park is in between Cherry Hill Park and this park almost exactly. So anybody that's in between that area has a park available to them already. The splash pad situation, I know the kids would probably really like it, but I feel that that as well would be counterproductive to the community, that area.
I see wedding receptions happen there. I see birthday parties happen there. I watch the Renaissance people do their sword fighting and role playing there. It has been used for a lot of wonderful things that wouldn't get to happen there if there was a dog park.
And I think currently the park is actually a no-dog park. And to take it from no dog park to a dog park, just, it's a complete 180, and it's a little bit baffling.
Right, well, thank you very much. Appreciate the
You're welcome.
comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else wishing to give public comment here tonight? Okay, we will move on to announcements. Any member of the council have an announcement tonight? Kiki?
I have a couple of quick things. One is, I did go down to the Association of Idaho Cities, and although I did get stopped at TSA for bringing this back, that doesn't mean that it's not any less well-deserved. It's a City Achievement Award to the wastewater treatment plant for their Tours for Water Awareness Month. So I'll be dropping that off to them and want to extend our congratulations for that. And I also picked up some really good tips on some visioning projects and the way that contract management is being handled in some other cities. So I'll be doing a little more homework and hopefully visiting with some department heads on their thoughts on that.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else? Dan?
Thank you. I just wanted to add to a couple of things that were said about Epiphany Park, which I think, I agree with you, it's a great park. But it needs a real bathroom. And I think Dustin said that. And I talked to Bill about this, and I've brought the subject of bathrooms up. I think the City of Excellence shouldn't have porta potties in our parks. That's my opinion. And we do have the Ace Walden grant, which we could use to build a bathroom if it weren't for our city's own cap fees, which our Parks Department would have to pay to our wastewater department. So take that dollar bill and take it out of one pocket and put it in another pocket. But that's something council could discuss if there's a mood for it. And I know that we've talked about cap fees and stuff regarding the food trucks, But I don't know if that's something that we might want to have a discussion on later to say, you know, should we be paying ourselves money to put in a bathroom when we're just paying ourselves money? I don't know. I mean, I think if we have a grant, we could put in a real bathroom somewhere. Let's put in a real bathroom. That's me.
I think
This
that's,
isn't a discussion item.
what I'd like to see is some input from the rest of the community. So I'm pleased that there's going to be a flyer placed, and I hope that staff uses that opportunity to get input from all of the neighbors on what should happen with that funding, and that grant doesn't become part of a maintenance fee for a park. But if they are all in agreement that it should be a real bathroom, then maybe that's the direction to go. But there may be something else that could all be in agreement over. So I'd like to hear that.
Okay, cool.
You know, and I would like to add too is that I have a long, long history with that area, and that is a tranquil park in a established residential neighborhood. Just my opinion now, I think splash pads are great for places down here that are more active parks, not neighborhood tranquil type parks. Splash pads are great, but I think they have to be well positioned, as well as dog parks as well. And we have to be real careful when we are adding those type of elements in parks that are right next to and abutting residential neighborhoods. So I appreciate everyone's comments tonight. Dan?
Since we're having a discussion, and I think this is good, actually, if you ask if anybody else is in the mood to talk about a real bathroom for that park, I certainly would be. Although the idea of not charging the cap fees for the, I mean, that's an interesting discussion, and I remember many years when I was at the county, and they would like to do some other things at the fairgrounds, and, you know, it was kind of cost prohibitive because of some of the city fees, so that's where it gets tricky. Are we going to just waive it for our own entity or for the public at large? But that's a different discussion. I will say just tonight, I appreciate the benefit of hearing this firsthand. I mean, I went to junior high there, wrestled in that building that's still there, and we lived in that area for a lot of years, took our granddaughter there, and thought I kind of knew it, but still to hear firsthand the idea that, you know, that's, you know, it's a pocket park. You know, if you're going to design a park, you probably wouldn't design one that small, but it's a unique opportunity, and having, sometimes simple is good, and I appreciate the, you know, hearing that thought of simple, and even though, you know, support dog parks in general, the idea of that fence, I mean, the fenced area, and whoever lives right next door, and as I drove by a couple times today, that, you know, having that 10 or 15 feet away, you know, that's a real impact. So anyway, I'm glad that I got to hear firsthand, and I think that's part of what the decision process should be, that we get to hear from people and hopefully have either an open mind or a changed mind. So.
And I can say the idea of plumbed bathrooms is one that I think we have to have a lot of discussion on, because there are costs, vandalism, a lot of things. That's one of the reasons why they went away from the bathrooms in Bryan. If everybody remembers, there were bathrooms at Bryan, but the vandalism and the maintenance and all those things. So if council chooses to go that direction, you're going to have to understand that you can't just build these things and not include the dollars to maintain them. You have to do both of them. And if a decision was made that people want to have that type of bathroom at Fippany, that is all well and good, but you're going to have to give Bill money to maintain it, right? So those are some issues that come with plumbed bathrooms like that. So, but it's a good discussion to have. Ron?
Yeah, I remember some years back, and I think probably Woody does too, maybe, that when the city took over Fippany Park, that it was a neighborhood. It was supposed to be a neighborhood park for the neighbors in the area. And I think what, you know, as Bill mentioned, you know, this is be looked at again. And I think that possibly, Dusty, you should get a hold of Bill, and some of your suggestions, mention them to Bill again, And, you know, like we've mentioned up here, that maybe there's some things that we can do with ACE's money instead of building a dog park, which I think is basically the wrong thing to do.
Any other member of council have anything? Any announcements or anything? All right, we will move on to other business, and we have Council Bill number 161013-ZC1-16, GT LLC, 3045 North Fruitland Lane, zone change from MH8, mobile home at 8 units per acre, to R12 residential at 12 units per acre. So we're looking for some council action there.
I would move that council pass the first reading of Council Bill 161013, all the
Second.
stuff the mayor just said.
Yeah. So a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Amy, if you could read the title, please.
An ordinance amending the zoning act of the city of Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County, Idaho, known as ordinance number 1691, ordinances of the city of Coeur d'Alene, by changing the following described property from MH8, mobile home at 8 units per acre, to R12, residential at 12 units per acre, said property being described as follows, to wit, plus or minus .91 acre parcel located at 3045 North Fruitland Lane, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, provide for the publication of a summary of this ordinance and an effective date hereof.
Roll call, please.
Eddinger?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Yep.
Evans?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Move to
Suspend the rule.
Second.
Motion and a second to suspend the rules. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Eddinger?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Yep.
Evans?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion to recess to July 13th, 2016 at 8 a.m. in the City Hall Council Chambers for public hearings regarding the proposed amendments to the urban renewal project plans for the Lake and River Districts, and a workshop regarding the fiscal year 2016-2017 budget and impact fee development plan.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We are recessed until July 13th. Thank you, everyone, for coming.